Podcast with James D. Jackson.
Hello and welcome again to the Rip Jersey Podcast. I'm your host, James D. Jackson. And man, we had a lot of fun in Game 2 of the NLDS. A lot of things happened. We had a 3-hour rain delay, a dunk on the field, and the Padres stunned LA at Dodger Stadium. We have a lot to get into, but first, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on the podcast app, subscribe to the podcast, man. We do a lot of good work here, but enough of that self-promotion. Let's get right into the stories today.
Here's the first story of the day.
The Padres evened the series with the Dodgers with a 5-3 win in Game 2. Now, look, I don't want to overreact, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but who's to say the Padres can't beat the Dodgers in this series? I know we talked a lot about how the Dodgers were the winningest team this year with 100 and so whatever wins it was, and the Padres didn't have as many, and they haven't been here too many times since 2020. But the record doesn't matter at this point in the season. The record doesn't matter. All that mattered was where you were placed in the bracket. What matters the most is the hottest team going in. And now the Padres have stolen a game in LA. And so now those standings that we were talking about and where you're placed, that home field advantage isn't necessarily there anymore. And if you had to think about it, who would you say would have the biggest home field advantage now in this series? It has to be the Padres, right? I mean, the Padres haven't played a postseason game in front of their fans in 16 years. Just imagine how wild that crowd's going to be. They're probably going to get one with the energy that the fans are going to bring in that stadium. That has to matter, right? And if you get one, this is a 3. You only got to win 3 in this 5-game series. So anything can happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the Padres definitely have a chance to win this series. It'll be a big upset according to what we've seen throughout the entirety of the season, but I wouldn't lay it off too much. I wouldn't doubt it. Now, let's talk about Game 1 because we didn't get to talk about Game 1 in the last podcast. The Dodgers won Game 1 5-3, which is kind of odd because it's 5-3 this time as well. It was a gem from their bullpen and a good outing from Trey Turner, who had a home run. And Turner wasn't just good in Game 1. He was great in Game 2 as well. In Game 2, he hit another home run, and now he is part of Dodger history because he is now the 4th Dodgers player ever with a home run in each of his first 2 games to begin a postseason. He joins Corey Seager, Manny Ramirez, and Dave Lopes. But with everything he did well, Turner made a big error on the defensive side that the Padres were able to take advantage of. He had a bobbled ground ball going to his right in a tie game. And just after that, the Padres were able to capitalize with an RBI to break that tie. Now, the Dodgers got out of that inning with 2 big defensive plays, but they didn't have enough to overcome after that because the Padres were just so hot at that moment. And then Jake Cronenworth just added to that with a massive home run in the 8th inning, and the Dodgers just couldn't overcome that, as I said. So now we'll have the Padres playing in front of their fans for the first time in the postseason in 16 years. This is one of those Seattle Mariner type of streaks. I just can't imagine how wild that's going to be. That's going to be great. But let's get into the second story of the day.
Here's the second story of the day.
The Atlanta Braves evened the series against the Phillies with a 3-0 win. Now, did anybody think the Braves weren't going to bounce back, at least in Game 2? This is the defending champs. They lost by just 1 run when the Phillies had a bunch of clutch hits in that first game. A lot of clutch hits with just 2 outs in the innings and a high start from that middle of the lineup. Things were a lot different here. The Philly was looking to break franchise history with 4 consecutive postseason road wins, but weren't able to because the Braves looked like the defending champs in this one. They took advantage of every opportunity that was given to them, unlike what they did in Game 1. This time around, they took advantage of everything, and now the Braves are 11-0 in NLDS Game 2s. Now, look, this game could have gone either way. It was scoreless heading into the 5th inning. There weren't a lot of big hits, but everything changed in that 6th inning, and it kind of changed when Ronald Acuna Jr. got hit by a pitch, and we hope he's all right because 96-mile-an-hour fastball to the elbow can't feel too good. But as soon as he got hit, it seemed like the Braves just came alive, like their offense, like they were all motivated by him getting hit by a pitch. And Matt Olson, Austin Riley, Travis d'Arnaud, those guys came in clutch with RBI hits throughout that inning, all in that span that turned out to be the deciding factor in that game. Now, look, the Phillies won game one with the middle of their lineup. Castellanos, Real Muto, Bryce Harper. Now, those guys didn't necessarily produce as well like they did in the last game. They didn't have bad games, but they couldn't string a lot of their hits together like they did in game one. And I want to look at where they are. So let's look at by the numbers and check out where they were in this game.
Here's by the numbers.
By the numbers, the Phillies, Bryce Harper was 1 for 4. JT Realmuto was also 1 for 4. And Kyle Schwarber is still hitless. He has to get out of that slump if they're going to get back into this series and win this series, because they need him to be the guy that he was all season long. This postseason slump is just very unfortunate for them and very bad timing that they have to get around. But for the Braves, let's get to their numbers. Like I said, Matt Olson was 1 for 3 with 1 RBI. Austin Riley, 1 for 4 with 1 RBI. And Travis d'Arnaud, 1 for 3 with 1 RBI. So it wasn't necessarily a great game out of that lineup, out of those three guys. They just put it together when they needed to in the postseason. That's really all you need. Actually, in baseball, that's all you need. Just one hit out of each of them, but they were all clutch and they all were strung together in the same inning. And it just made for a good outing for them. Now, on the defensive side, and I know you all saw the catches that the Braves made. Austin Riley had that one on the tarp where he caught just on the tarp in foul territory. Anything could have happened. He could have got hurt on that play. Thankfully, he didn't, because he made it such a great catch, and he can continue to be in this series. But Dansby Swanson, I think, had the more difficult catch with the ball falling over his head when he was running to a blooper that was hitting the outfield, and the infielder just caught it over his head. What an amazing catch from him. And it was the defense like that helped Kyle Wright, who has been amazing this year, helped him play defense. And the Phillies just couldn't overcome the Kyle Wright's pitching arm. They couldn't overcome the Atlanta Braves defense. It was all going well for them in that game. Now, Wright was a big reason. And then you got Kenley Jansen coming in to close. I mean, once you got the lead, it should be fine with Kenley Jansen coming in, and he proved that again. But let's get into the next thing.
Here's the third story of the day.
The third story of the day is the 3 things I think you need to know, kind of a roundup of the smaller notes from the last couple of days that I want you to know as you head forward. But let's get right into it.
Number 3.
Number 3, the Astros Phil Maton will miss the rest of the postseason after injuring his finger by punching a locker. This is devastating news for a pitcher, because your hand and your arm, that's where you make your money, man. You got to protect those things. And this is crazy because we just spoke about an uncanny injury when David Robertson strained his calf against the Phillies, celebrating Bryce Harper's home run. And now both of those guys are going to be out this postseason. Just devastating news, and a bad time for those pitchers, especially when you need your bullpen the most is in the postseason. So that's unfortunate.
Number 2.
And speaking of pitchers missing time, number 2, Yankees Aroldis Chapman will miss the postseason after lineup disputes. Now, this is something that happened a couple days ago and was a wide story, but I want to get into it now because we missed it on the podcast. Chapman has missed time with an infected tattoo and Achilles. He missed a mandatory team workout after unassurance that he'd be on the postseason roster. He wanted to be on there. They couldn't assure that he would be there because of all the missed time. They didn't know about his performance, and because he wasn't promised a spot, he missed the team practice, and they said, you know what, just don't show up. So it's unfortunate for him, because if they win the World Series, they have a really good chance. I mean, he's still going to get a ring, but just to not be a part of that and be a part of that history, that's got to be devastating for him.
Number 1.
Number 1, the Yankees and Guardians face off in Game 2 on Thursday. The Yankees lead 1-0, and the Mariners and Astros will also square off as the Astros lead 1-0. I mean, how will those series play out? Let me know what you think in the comments. Those series could still go either way. I know a lot of people are writing off the Seattle Mariners after the Astros win in that dramatic fashion, but anything can happen in the postseason. Anything can happen in baseball. So I don't doubt anything just yet. Now, listen, on the last pod, we spoke about the Mariners going after Jordan Alvarez in Game 1, and that wild finish that he hit, that walk-off home run. Go check it out if you haven't already. Let me know what you think about that opinion. I want to hear from you. But that is all I have from the Rip Jersey Podcast. I am James D. Jackson. And like I said, this has been the Rip Jersey Podcast, and we appreciate you for sticking around with us. Thanks for watching this video. If you made it this far, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, I have a podcast called Rip Jersey. Follow that, add it to your playlist. Listen to it wherever you can. Thanks for watching again.